Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastian Envy Strong Style Cinephile. So, Stargirl, Season 2 finale. Let us geek about it for a scant few minutes. Now, I know I'm playing catch up with it because I haven't done a video in like a week and a half. The 9 to 5 has been kicking my butt. Really wish this could be my 9 to 5. And maybe if I would have gotten to this 5-10 years ago at this point in time, it could be. But, you know, it is what it is. Trying to build a following from here. I've got my like 6 loyal viewers and appreciate them. And, you know, it is what it is. I just like talking about this stuff, so I'm gonna keep doing it until it's just, I don't know, till I get tired of it, I guess. This episode had a lot going for it. It had some action, it had some heart, it had some darkness, it had some cheese to it. Lots of cheese in this episode. So, and we've kind of noticed there's been some cheese in this episode, in this series from the get-go. And as I've kind of commented on here and there in certain videos, there's a certain good amount of cheese, and then there's kind of like cheese where there's cringy sort of cheese. Warehouse 13, I mentioned that series a lot because of the terrible CG in it, but it's got heart to it, it's got soul to it, so it's like a good kind of cheese. So it makes you smile kind of cheese. Leverage, that show, totally different genre, but there's a lot of cheese in it. But it's a good kind of cheese, so there can be good and bad cheese. Stargirl, for the most part, has good cheese to it. This episode was no exception. Now the episode picks up with Kid Eclipso talking to the Midnights at American Dream. They're like, hey, our friends are on the way, we're gonna kick your butt. He's like, I want everybody here because it's part of my plan. His plan is to corrupt Courtney, have control of the light, have control of the dark, and he does so. Before that, you have everybody trying to, you know, deal with Eclipso. He's just laying waste to everybody. At first he's got Yolanda, Cindy, Pat fighting just illusions, stuff that's not there. Pat fights himself. Cindy fights her younger self. Yolanda fights Wildcat. You have Beth's parents who are in the midst of some nightmare where Beth is blaming them for their marriage and ruining their family and yada, yada, yada. So we got that. McNider snaps kind of everybody out of it. Then it's, you know, everybody ganging up on Eclipso, where he just, like I said, lays waste to everybody and just so easily just really shows himself as a physical threat. Like up to this point, we've gotten more of him as like a psychological threat, but here, and we were kind of waiting for this, for him to kind of assert himself as a physical threat, which he did. Like I said, he lays waste to everybody. You have Mike and the Thunderbolt come in later because they were off to the garage trying to fix the robot. Zeke said he couldn't get it to work, and Mike figures out that his dad kind of knew that they weren't going to be able to get the robot fixed. He just wanted him out of the way, on the sidelines, safe. Thunderbolt shows up, which Zeke has the best reaction in it, where they try to explain it, and he's just like, shh, just let me have this. And it just, I love him. He's just funny. And just kind of how he takes things in stride. Doesn't ask any questions. He just takes things, you know, as they are. Giant, you know, this dude has a giant robot in his garage. Oh, cool, I'm gonna help him fix it. Here's this mystical genie type of dude. It's just another day. So him, just that kind of wide-eyed sort of childlike acceptance of the absurd that's going on around him. I like that. Rick's trying to fix the hourglass, can't do it, and he decides to go anyway. And he brings Grundy to the party. Grundy gets, you know, a hole blown through him. Rick gets his butt kicked. So everybody's getting wasted. Eclipso threatens Pat, says he's gonna rip off his arm if Courtney doesn't say that she hates him, and she does. And that allows him, that one sliver of hate allows him to get into her body, corrupt her. Cindy wants to kill her. Yolanda's like, no, the old JSA may have done that. We're not like that. We're gonna subdue her. And they try to, doesn't help. Only when Sylvester shows up, and people have been wondering on the message board and stuff like that, and I've been wondering myself, where is Sylvester? So he shows up, and then this is where we kind of get into maybe a little bit of the cheese, more the cheese, the hokiness of the episode, where one of the things I complain about with The Flash is when they have these like episodes where the villain of the week is handled by, you know, the power of the pep talk and love. And Stargirl hasn't really done that to this point, but they did it here. And I'm okay with that for the most part. This if there ever was an episode to do it in, this was the episode. And they did it. And because Sylvester's like, hey, I don't know what's all going on, I'm trying to play catch up, but if the staff if the staff works for you, it means you were chosen for a reason and to fight the darkness. And then Pat tells her to fight it, and then she eventually does, expels Eclipso. Next thing you know, the Crocs show up because Artemis broke them out of prison, which their involvement was kind of like unnecessary in the moment of the scene. There's a reason for it later on in the episode. So that was one of those things where it was cheesy as can be. It was kind of like negative cheese because they didn't really need to be there. Like they just like show up, say a line, and they don't even have a hand in defeating Eclipso. They have nothing to do with that, basically. They're just there standing around. So that was kind of like, but then you see the end of the episode and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. But in the moment, they were kind of useless. Like seeing him again, I love Sportsmaster as a character, and just that sort of relationship he has with Pat, friendship he has with Pat, so I like that. But they weren't needed in the moment. Shade shows up, helps out, and they have like this shot where like everybody, the whole assembled group is standing there when Eclipso was down, and they kind of like reminded me of that shot of the Avengers, which Loki is like on the ground and looking up at the Avengers. It was very much cribbed from that shot. So I thought that was kind of an interesting homage, maybe. Maybe they didn't mean it to be that way, but that's totally how it came off. And speaking of homages, I thought it was a cool moment in the episode when you had Cindy and Courtney battling Eclipso together. Kind of threw me back to watching Dragon Ball Super and seeing Frieza and Goku, longtime enemies, bitter, bloody rival between them, and they team up to take on Jiren and move and fight and flow together. And seeing Cindy and Courtney do that against Eclipso, even for just that brief moment, I thought that was cool to see. And again, I don't know if they intended to do it as an homage to that, but it felt like that to me, and I enjoyed that. But they beat Eclipso, turn him into toast, and that's it. And then you have just a lot of stuff kind of going on as far as resolutions go. You have like Jenny, she goes off. Yeah, McNider, he goes off to find his wife, finds out that he apparently has a 10-year-old son. Yolanda says she's back for good. Yolanda and Cindy have a talk where Cindy says she wants to join the JSA. She says Yolanda killed somebody, she gets a do-over. So Cindy should get a do-over, a second chance. So I'm kind of wondering if she's going to be sincere about it or if it's going to be a heel turn later on. I'm thinking it's going to be the latter, but remains to be seen how it plays out. You have Rick burying Solomon Grundy. He's all sad about it. Shade shows up and says that, hey, Solomon Grundy has a habit of coming back. So it remains to be seen kind of when he comes back. Shade says he's sticking around. Sylvester's going to stick around. He's apparently going to live in the basement, maybe, of the Dugans. And you can kind of see, because Sylvester says he wants to help out Courtney. Pat's like, well, after school. And he's like, superheroes don't need school. So you can very much tell that Sylvester's going to be like the fun uncle character in this. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes next season, how he clashes with Pat and kind of the responsibility and kind of like the seriousness he's trying to give to being a superhero. I think Sylvester's going to stick to like the fun side of things and try to, there's going to be a little bit of tug of war between Pat and Sylvester and their influence on Courtney. They're both going to love Courtney and want the best for her, but they're going to clash as far as kind of how she should best proceed as Stargirl, which will be interesting. And the fact that the season 3 is called Frenemies is interesting because, again, you have Cindy saying she wants to join the JSA. You have the Crocs. They moved next door to the Dugans. You have Shade staying around. You have Grundy with the possibility of him coming back. You have Cameron, apparently his grandparents come to him and say it's time for you to learn the truth about your family. They do little ice power things. So he's going to find out their version of, what went down with Icicle and who he was, why he did what he did. I'm sure it's going to be a corrupted, slanted version that probably put him against the junior JSA in the next season. But the frenemies, you have like these people who could be good, could be friends, or they could be bad guys. And we'll probably see their interest and their plans kind of clash as the next season progresses, which we know that the overarching villain seems to be Mr. Bones and the Helix Institute. They're going to be trying to play some experiments, play some games. Again, this could be also their involvement. Mr. Bones' involvement could be the thing that kind of pits the bad guys against the good guys. Or the possibilities and where they could go with this are truly endless, and that's what I like about this show. It's just, they set up stuff and they pay it off. Stargirl is the best superhero show going today. I've said it many, many times. I'll say it ad nauseum until they jump the shark. Because, I mean, history dictates at some point they will. But at this point in time, one of the best shows. This finale was good. It gave us some closure on Eclipso. It gave us some fun action during the episode. It gave us endless possibilities of how things could go in the third season, where you don't know what's going to happen, where it could go, and I like that feeling. I love not knowing, but those are some of my thoughts on it, scattered as they often are. But you guys out there think, let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. Talk to me there, talk to me here. Until next time in the next video, which is some more catch-up work on like Batwoman. Let us geek.